It wasn't easy, but the Celtics got the win against the Indiana Pacers up 1-0. Bring on game 2 tomorrow. Yo, what's good? If you're new here, my name's Adam Taylor. I cover the Boston Celtics for Celtics blog, and I help out over at USA Today covering the Celtics too. Check out the Celtics Chronicle newsletter, also part of this whole podcast verse thing that we're trying to build out here. I'm joined by my homie, Mr. Wayne Breezy Brown. What's popping, Wayne?
What's going on, man? I'm still trying to, congratulations. We got that dub. And I'm still trying to just I can't believe that's what happened. Like, it went down that way. I'm still trying to take it all in and woosah and get ready for game 2.
Yo, some hot takes coming out today that I definitely want to start by addressing, and then we can get into whatever we think from the game afterwards. Just because I think some of the stuff that's being said right now is egregious. It's annoying me. A lot of Jason Tatum went missing, which he did for a stretch. He disappeared a little bit, went quiet. And then he has a big overtime and kind of redeems himself. Played great defense on pretty much throughout the game. Had some big plays there. But apparently that doesn't matter because, Tatum has to get shredded in the media this week. Well, this postseason. You have Stephen A saying the Celtics offense was trash. There's just a bunch of anti-Boston narratives out there right now that I completely don't agree with. I think a lot of them are bad faith arguments. And I just want to see where you're at with it.
Yeah, I think the narratives that they're putting out there about the Celtics are just a little bit too they're just trying to force some things down everybody's throats, especially when they use the word trash. I think that's the wrong word to use. If you're a real basketball watcher, connoisseur, you understand the game. I think I can understand if people find some things to talk about when it comes to the Boston Celtics offense, some things that just seem a little bit abnormal, and we can break some of that stuff down because I do have some takes on the Boston Celtics offense, but trash is definitely the wrong word. Concerning is even the wrong word because they just figured out how to get the job done. And regardless if it took them to overtime to get it done, they got it done, right? And so this might have been one of the times that Boston faced this type of adversity to where they had to go out. I don't even think Boston won an overtime game all season, but I'm sure they did, but I don't remember them doing it. And so at the end of the day, they did it in the Eastern Conference Finals against the highest scoring team in the NBA as far as percentage wise. And so when you look at that, to say that the Celtics offense is trash is just a little too it's too much of a reach for me. Now, if you want to pinpoint and be specific and add the context to what was wrong with the Boston Celtics offense, maybe throughout the game, then that's different. Because if you go back and watch this game, I don't think the offense was trash. I think there were some things that were just a little bit different. Like for me, it was all about intensity. And if the Celtics don't show up with intensity for 48 minutes of basketball, which I don't know if it's possible, that's where the offense looks a little bit stagnant at times. So I think these national media takes, sometimes they're just a little bit much, and I really turn that stuff off. I'm gonna be honest. I really don't pay attention to it. I go off of what I watch, what I see. And when I do my reaction shows and things like that, I overreact at times, but I try to give people the context in what's going on.
You say you got some hot takes, or some takes, I should say. You didn't say hot. You just said you got some takes.
Yeah, just some takes.
Let's break these down. Let's dive in and get your thoughts, and then I'll get my thoughts on it.
Now, look, I'm not a super duper play connoisseur. What type of plays they're running, whether it's pin downs, ghost screens, all that type of stuff. But I do think that the Celtics play basketball. I feel like there's not a lot of plays being drawn up. Now, that play for Jaylen Brown to hit that 3, that was beautiful. That was a play drawn up after a timeout. That was amazing.
12 pair, that's called.
Oh, just the point is it was immaculate, right? Now, throughout the game, I'm saying to myself, all right, the Boston Celtics bench has been an issue ever since the Porzingis injury, in my opinion. Why? Because you depleted it a little bit. You took Al Horford off the bench, you put him in the starting lineup, and so there's production there. And just having Porzingis out there on the court, which he is not, and I get that, it just changes up the way teams have to defend you, and it shrinks the space. The spacing is terrible. And so I'm starting to understand what defenses are doing to the Boston Celtics. And to me, they have to figure out how to counter that. And so you're going to get more ISO ball, a little less ball movement than what we want to see because you just don't have the big at the top of the key that can see over everything. And I think we underestimate how great Porzingis' vision is when he gets the ball at the top of the key and that dribble handoff or whatever, it's key. And then when we say Sam Hauser can't get off, why? You wonder why. The spacing's a little bit different. Now you got Hauser putting the ball on the ground, going to the rack, and that's just not his game. He's a catch and shoot dude. So why not? My question to you is that will be one of the things to me that made the offense a little stale at times. Because when I saw Pritchard, when I saw Cornette, and I saw Hauser on the court at the same time when Jason Tatum came out the game, I was like, oh, shoot, it's about to be a problem because where's the scoring going to come from? And or the IQ, maybe even that. And so that's where the Celtics had that 13-point lead. And I promise, bro, I went to the bathroom to pee, and I was like, I got plenty of time to get back. I must have peed a little longer than what I thought. When I came back, we was only up by 9. I was like, what the hell happened? Like, what did I miss? I wasn't going that long. And then they went on a run. And then we lost that 13-point lead. So that's another thing. Adam Tatum, can he play 48 minutes? Can he play a little longer? Does he have to get the rest, or can he be managed a little differently? Because him on the court is he has to be on the basketball court. You can't take him off the court.
Okay, let's start with the Tatum part. I think that, as I said at the top of the show, I think Tatum's defense is being incredibly underrated this whole postseason, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, everyone's looking at the defense. The perimeter shot just isn't falling right now. He has his up moments, he had his down moments, but overall, he's been quite consistent in terms of generating offense around the rim and in that mid-range. It's the defense where he's letting you down. So, no, it's the perimeter where he's letting you down, and it's the defense where he's dominating. But what I will say is, I'm against playing anyone too high of a minutes load, just because, one, if you look over at how New York looked at Game 7 against Indiana, and throughout the postseason and towards the end of the regular season, the wheels started to fall off because Tibbs was hammering those minutes, and it's a physical brand of basketball. It's the postseason. The Pacers want you to run, so it's heavy on the legs. I feel like if you overexert yourself now, you're shooting yourself in the foot for the finals. And you don't want that. You want to have guys as fresh as possible, right? So it's not about whether Tatum can play more. It's about how you limit the drop-off when he's not on the floor, right? And that comes to your substitution patterns, your combinations. I think you make a good point in terms of the spacing isn't the same without Porzingis, and that's not Al can shoot the free. They ran a bunch of stuff at Al with the Derek White, Al Horford empty corner pick and roll at the beginning in the second quarter, I think it was, just to get some pick and pops, to get Al working from deep, to try and create something there. We've got some comments. I'll get to the comments in a moment. But in terms of spacing, they're trying to situate the 5-man in like the weak side slot area, which is like you've got the top of the perimeter, you've got the wing, and in between that's the slot. So you put a big man there to try and draw the defensive big man out, and then that's creating a different type of spacing where you can drive and you can kick that motherfucker out there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's not always that easy. You have guys rotating over, and as you said, you don't have somebody. You have Cornette that can see over the defense, but you're not really relying on him to make those reads consistently because that's not really what Cornette does. And then you've got Horford that can make those reads but doesn't have the height to see everything, and he's a little bit older now, so you're trying to ask him to beat guys off the dribble. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes he's going to run himself into problems. He's quite smart, so he gets the ball out of his hands, flows into whatever. The question you've got to ask yourself is, how do you counter that? If your entire offense is predicated about having this 7'2", 7'3" literal unicorn that you can create off delay actions above the break, and he's not there, there has to be that secondary, which is where they've gone to putting that big in the slot and playing that kind of slot offense to draw guys out. But then you can't rely on perimeter-based offense as much. There needs to be more paint touches. There needs to be more of an emphasis on getting downhill and kicking the ball out. And hey, if you catch the ball and you're not comfortable because you haven't generated enough of a collapse, pass it, drive it, move it. And I think that it's very easy playing Indiana to get sucked into this, hey, we're going to drive past shoot, because that's how Indiana plays. So that, and I was very big coming into this series of, if you play Indiana style of basketball, they're controlling the game because they've
Correct.
got, and that's how I felt that certain stretches of this game went. Whereas the Celtics would run, find an open guy, pass it to him, and then the ball's going up before they've even surveyed to see if there's a better shot available. And that can lead to stagnation because you're being taken out of what you do best. So that would be
And
my take. It's more about just avoiding falling into that trap.
that's a great trap. And you know, you pointed out that Indiana, if that's Indiana's style, well, that's how they practice. So if the Celtics are trying to take that style and they're good at practicing against themselves, then obviously we're going to struggle. Now, listen, I thought that the Celtics, I thought that they played particularly well, and I thought they shot the ball well. I thought they moved the ball well. But there were times where I felt like they could have put the ball on the floor. And see, I don't want people to think that we shoot too many threes. No, that's not my take. That's not my take ever. That's never my take. This is the NBA. It's a 3-point shooting game. It's the type of threes. I want to point this out. It's those threes where, you know, it's highly contested. That's a bad shot. I'm sorry, it's just a bad shot. And then when you get the ball and the shot clock's down to like 3 or 4 seconds, and you just was holding on to the ball too long, that's another bad shot. That's a tough three to hit, right? That's a tough three. And then there's just some bad. And then there's the fadeaway threes, right? Opposed to where you just get your feet set and then you're shooting normal. Those are bad takes when it comes to the 3-point shot. And I felt like the Celtics missed several of those, all the players, right? And they missed some wide open ones, which you're going to get in a game, right? You're going to get in a game. But I want the Celtics to continue shooting, but try to take those more effective threes, those better percentage threes. Move the ball one time past the three. They also had some turnovers that were questionable, right? And I know we aren't turning the ball over at a high pace. And you know what, Adam? It's not even the number of turnovers for us. It's when we turn the damn ball over, bro. It's like, damn, we couldn't have turned it over like 6 minutes ago. It's the end. We had the ball. We were up by 1 point. I remember, and I was like, yo, we got the ball. We got the rebound. Tatum tries, there's no look pass, and I'm just like, dang, like, it didn't have to be fancy. It just needed to be the right pass. So it's just little brain fart moments. And I don't want people to get misconstrued, especially our people, especially Celtics Nation, Celtics World, wherever we call ourselves. Like, don't get misconstrued. Celtics are the best team in the NBA. Don't get it misconstrued. And don't get it misconstrued that they were the best team on the basketball court. Now, I'm going to tip my hat to Indiana because they shot the ball well. But you know what? They've been shooting the ball well against every team in the NBA because that's their identity. That's what they do. Like, they did exactly what you said, Adam. That's their game plan. They're going to drive. They're going to pass. They're going to shoot, right? They're going to shoot quick, get the quick. That's what they do. I think the Celtics coming out in game 2, they just have to figure out a way how to not allow our big bro Al Horford get into those moments where they're attacking him. And I thought that was where the Celtics couldn't figure out on the fly. Like, they couldn't figure out if they got the mismatch and the pick and roll, the high pick and roll at the top, and next thing you know, Al's trying his hardest. And this is at the end of the game, right? This is in the second half. This is after he done gave like all his energy in the first half. He's trying to get there, and it's just like, damn. And they were hitting their shots, and I'm like, okay, I get it. They're attacking him. They're picking on him. This is game plan from their coach, and that's what you expect. And we just had to figure out a way to counter it. And I think going into game 2, I think Joe Mazzulla is going to figure out a way to give Al a little bit of help off of that, you know, on those high pick and rolls. You're muted.
My bad. Horford came into this game matched up with Turner. Struggled playing drop. When he was playing too much of a drop, the Pacers were finding ways to get secondary cuts and use Turner as kind of a decoy. When Horford played high, he'd get beat off the dribble or he'd get an unfavorable switch. Second half of the game, Horford gets moved over to, I think he gets moved on to Siakam. Tatum gets to Miles Turner kind of assignment, we'll say. And then Horford starts getting hunted in pick and rolls, as you said. Nemhard starts trying to take advantage. Halliburton starts trying to do what he needs to do. And because they're going after Horford, because one, if you play and drop, especially with how deep Horford was dropping in some of these possessions, you're opening up the mid-range, and that can allow, you've got to pull guys out the paint to come up to you, or you can hit the stop and pop, or you can just redirect the rock flow into whatever. Or if you push up too high, you're going to get blown by because you're nearly 38 years old. You don't have the same flexibility in your hips to change direction on a dime. It's easy to hunt the older guy, especially when he's playing more minutes than what you'd want him to be playing at this point in the series. Obviously, Horford had some really good defensive moments. He had some bad defensive moments. And as the game wore on and he got hunted more and more and he slowed down that little bit more, he did become a bit more ineffective on that defensive end. But I think he still done a good job in limiting where Indiana's shots were coming from. Right, he didn't really let guys take it. He didn't let himself get dragged towards the rim too often. He forced a bit like long twos, kept guys on the perimeter, and any shots that were taken were still contested. But I do agree, you need to find some help. You need to make some adjustments there. And this is where you're missing Porzingis the most, right? And I've pulled these numbers specifically for this discussion. The Pacers are one of the best transition scoring teams in the NBA. When you've got a big man like Horford and he's got to run up and down the floor and he's getting older and it's harder, it becomes very difficult to try and get back in transition, build out to the ball and still protect the rim. In the regular season, the Celtics were first in transition defense for points scored per 100. So they allowed 1.05 points per 100 as a transition defensive team. Number one in the league, second behind them OKC, then Miami, then Houston, and so forth. In the playoffs, let me just click this over. In the playoffs, they are, for points per possession, again, second from bottom. So they're allowing 1.23 points per 100. The only team that allowed more transition buckets than them was New York, and New York had a very specific game plan. The only thing that's changed through the postseason, from the regular season to the postseason, for a significant stretch, has been Porzingis isn't on the floor, because he's that shot deterrent. He runs back to the rim. You don't want to drive down there because you're going to run into KP, and he can change direction and do things like that, right? So you need to accept that you've got to be a better transition team, but Horford can't be the guy that you're asking to build out around the rim. So you need to change how your transition defense is going to work here, or you need to try and pick guys up higher up the floor and grind them down into a half-court action with 14, 12, 14, 10 seconds on the clock, rather than letting everybody sprint. Again, it's about controlling the tempo, and Horford can help you there, but it's just about putting him in positions to succeed.
I think I would like the tighter perimeter defense where they push up on the guys a little bit more. If those guys happen to get by them, force them to hit mid-range shots. I think those are harder to hit, believe it or not. Like, especially if they're moving or they're doing some type of emotion. I think those type of shots are harder to hit. Now, if they get their feet set and they're good shooters, obviously it'll go in, but it's better than getting a screen at the top, getting a wide open look shot to the shot and hit a three in your face because Al's trying to get back up onto the basketball shooter. But other than that, I think that they have to play tighter defense up on top if that's how they're going to attack. I expect game two to be just like game two to be just like game one in the beginning. I think they're going to allow Miles Turner to kind of see if he can get cook Al a little bit, which he wasn't cooking Al like people might think. He was hitting threes and they were wide open. Now I'm just gonna be honest. It was wide open threes. I don't know why they were wide open, but that's what they were. And the Celtics defensively need to limit those 3-point shots, or at least contest them a little bit better. That's all I'm asking. Give me a little bit more contesting on the perimeter defense with the threes, and I'll be good. I don't want to see wide open ones. I don't. If they screen you and get open, that's a different conversation. But the wide open ones are the ones that really get under my skin because you know what's going in. Why? Because we're the only team that struggled with wide open threes. Everybody else can hit them. It's just what it is. And that's what I'm saying. Like, don't say that the Celtics offense is trash, Stephen A. Smith or whoever else is talking, because it's not trash. You can't tell me that the offense was trash. They put up 100 and whatever, 33 points. They're not trash. There are times where the offense gets stagnant, and that was the best word. It doesn't go missing. It gets stagnant. Why? They settle for threes opposed to attacking the basket. Why is it that the Celtics seem like they can score at will no matter who the big is down there, no matter who's in the paint? They just have to attack. And that's why I love guys like JB, Derek White. I need more from him as far as attacking the basket. They did try to crowd that paint area down there. And Jason Tatum. Let me tell you something about Jason Tatum. When that cat lowers his shoulders, he's a mother freaking fullback, running back, coming down there. Ain't nobody trying to get in front of him because he's broad. He got big. He's big. He's not skinny like he was, 4 or 5 years ago when he entered the league. He is a big, brolic looking dude. He's not as big as LeBron, but you can tell that Jason Tatum is finding ways to get to the basket. That's his mentality. I'm tired of people talking trash about Tatum, especially if you're not a Celtics fan. You really shouldn't have anything negative to say when he's putting up a bunch of points. He's putting up great defense. He's putting up assist numbers consistently. It's not like he's scoring 12 points on a night. Nah, this dude is in the 20s. And against Indiana, I don't know why people don't look this stuff up. I know career-wise he averages about 25 points against this team. This dude is averaging 30 points this season against Indiana. I expect Jason Tatum to give you 30 every night. They can't defend him.
I want to touch on the freeze as you mentioned. Like, obviously, feels like it's going stagnant when they're shooting too many perimeter freeze. Freeze, I should say. From one of the things that I'm happy with, if you create motion, so if you drive and create a defensive rotation, if you create change with the structure of how the opponent is set up and you make them rotate, you make them switch, you find mismatches, you find open shooters because they've sent two at the ball or somebody's sunk down to try and dig in at you, and then you hit a catch and shoot, I'm fine with that. The Celtics are shooting 39.1% on catch and shoot perimeter shots in the postseason. I'm cool with you shooting as many perimeter jumpers as you want off the catch. But I'm the same as you. For me, it's very much like, hey, if you've got to take 3 or 4 dribbles to create a shooting pocket for yourself, but there's 14 seconds on the clock, I'm not cool with that. I get it if it's a transition shot, transition for perimeter jumpers, maths. Do you know what I mean? The math is
maths. Yeah, I got you. Math
cool
be mathing on those. Yep.
Personally, I come from an era where if you're on the break and you got the rock, you go to the rim. So I prefer
that's me.
That. Yeah,
that's my era.
That.
Yeah.
Old man basketball now.
Yeah. But, basketball. This is the new era, but I get it.
But like, if you're having to go into your bag as they say and go dribble, cross, tween, sidestep, and there's still a hand here and it's coming across as you jump, like, no, dude, you should have drove. You know what I mean? Get the rock out your hands, get it back, and move.
Yeah, you said it. I was gonna say, or pass the ball and just get it back. You'll get it back. You'll get the ball back. The thing I like about the Celtics basketball is if they do choose to move the ball, usually the person that starts with the ball gets the ball back, and by the time he gets that ball back, he has that split second where he can either shoot the 3 or drive to the basket with a one-on-one to the lane and probably draw the foul or get an and one or get it like we said a better 3-point shot. And I think the ones that make us scratch our head, win or lose, are the ones where the shot it's heavily contested. It's too much dribbling. Catch and shoot basketball. You talked about the percentage. What is it? 30, almost 40%?
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
39.1 in the postseason.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, dude. What were they in the regular season? I've got it here.
I felt like it was about the same. At the end of the day, it's ridiculous. That catch and shoot is the way to go, and you know who we're missing on the catch and shoot?
Celtics were first in the NBA, 40.6% on catch and shoot.
Told you it was close.
Jumpers.
40.6, 39.1. Y'all do the math. The math is math, and the Celtics are a catch and shoot team, and this is my point. And you know who we're missing? Sam Hauser. You know why? There's no catch and shoot. They take it away. For some reason, those high pick and roll screens that we were able to set for him to get his shot off are missing. Now, Adam is the playmaker. I'm curious to know, how do you create space for him to catch and shoot? Because for some reason, Missoula is going to use him over Brissett. And I'm okay. I rather, for me personally, I would like to see Brissett get minutes when things aren't going right so that the intensity can remain high. Because what Brissett will do is give you the 50-50 balls, hustle, score around the rim, go to the rim, draw foul. The intensity is up. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, the trade-off with Brissett is you get the additional intensity, but you lose a significant amount of offense, right?
Is it significant?
I think so.
Let's say, okay, and I got to ask you this question, and I'm glad you said that because I think overall you're right, But we're talking about now in the playoffs, rotations are shrunk, and Sam Hauser isn't doing anything, much of anything. So is the offense that you're losing significant? Because you're also getting better defensively if you put Brissett on the floor.
I'd push back on better defensively. I think Hauser's a decent enough defender in
Okay,
space.
that's cool.
I think that you're getting more intensity on defense. You're playing a bit more of that like aggressive, in your face bully
Okay,
ball stuff. If you bring Brissett in, you can play a bit more bully brand defense basketball and offensive basketball. I think with Hauser, you might not be getting the free ball might not be dropping right now, but he's got so much gravity that the spacing opens up. And
okay.
when you're already dealing with not having Horford coming off the bench providing that spacing, so you've got Cornet there, so the spacing shrinks a little bit. And now Cornet, in my opinion, is one of the best non-shooting bigs on the perimeter in the league because he can do so much else on the perimeter that can keep spacing alive. But when you then take away Hauser and plug in Brissett, that no one's going to respect from deep as a catch and shoot threat, you do shrink a little bit. So I think, but I still think there's a world where sometimes you need that energy shift. Right. Sometimes you just need somebody that's going to come in and it's just controlled chaos for 10 minutes, 5 minutes. We're not saying that because we're not saying that Brissett needs to replace Hauser. We're just saying that he maybe now and again he needs to eat some of those minutes and
I
give
said,
you that change.
If stuff starts to get a little out of hand, you bring in some intensity. You take away from the spacing a little bit, like you said. I like the way you broke that down. And if Hauser's not attempting, he's not like he's shooting six attempts from the 3-point line anyway. You might get 3. So if Brissett is wide open in the corner, you know what he's going to do? He's going to shoot the 3. So you can still get that type of spacing. I just feel like we can add a little bit more intensity because I feel like when the Celtics intensity is on level 100, nobody's beating them. And that's just the way it is. And I feel like when you take out a Jason Tatum, because you said they can't play, you want to savor some of their legs basically, and I think that's right. I just be in my NBA 2K24 feelings. You know, you need the intensity to remain on the court. You're not going to get that when the substitution are the 3 guys that I mentioned: Pritchard, Cornette, Hauser. Those guys can play. They just can't all play at the same time. Who's the intensity person? And Jaylen Brown, as much as he has the intensity, but when those 3 guys are on the court, Jaylen Brown is playing, I'm going to the basket when I get the ball in my hand, blah, 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 blah. So that's what I mean. Like the subs have to be better picked against this team. And I think what we get from Azula from time to time, he just lets his guys go out and play basketball. Then he comes back, he looks at the analytics, he looks at the game tape, and then he's like, okay, now we're gonna adjust here. I can tell you right now, don't expect the Celtics to lose game 2. I don't care what they did against Miami and they did against Cleveland. Expect the Celtics. This is a team. They're not gonna play down to this team. And I don't think the Celtics liked how game 1 was dictated. And maybe they started off too fast in game 1. Maybe they slowed down.
They're in their own game. That's the problem. And I will say, I agree with you. I think the one thing I will point out with the Celtics is they don't run defined sets as much as they run principled offense. Right. So the difference is defined sets is there's a coach on the sideline and he's shouting out, I don't know, he's just putting up, basically throwing gang signs on the sidelines. And the players understand that this sign means do this. That's your set offense. That's, hey, we've worked on this all the way through. If anyone's watched Coach Carter, you know, Delilah, Hattie Jean.
Yes.
You know, those are set plays. Principle-based offense is, hey, we've got a flow chart, a mental flow chart that we can go to. So if we're driving in transition and we've got Derek White on the ball and Drew Holiday's in the corner, we can go into our 21 offense flow chart. So that's a guard-to-guard action, and then there's branches off of that we can go. We pass it to Drew Holiday. Where's the defense? Okay, the defense does this. We do X, Y, or Z. We can make a read. So that's how they play. So a lot of the times it does look like they're just balling, but they are still playing defined actions. It's just within a flow chart, like mental flow chart system.
Respect that.
So, and it's, once you recognize that, it becomes quite easy to kind of pick out what they're doing and why. But it also becomes really difficult to try and think of what they could have done differently because you're so focused on like, well, they did this because of this. And you've got to trust them because they're professional and we're just sitting here on the couch eating Cheetos watching the game. You know what I'm saying? But overall, I wouldn't mind some defined sets when they ran that Jaylen Brown play, that 12 pairs. which is basically a twirl action on either side, and then you make your read out of whoever gets open first. When they ran that, that was a designed set play. That is
Yes.
some, and it worked. And I feel like there are times where you do need to call a timeout and you do need to implement an action and then say, right, this is our go-to, this is our plan B. If these two are taken away, go back to your flowchart kind of offense and figure some shit out, right? I feel like Missoula could get better there. And this has been my criticism. I think there's two types of adjustments coaches can make, in-game and game-to-game. I think Missoula, throughout his postseason this year, and specifically this year, has shown that he's really talented at game-to-game adjustments. Him and his coaching staff are great. What we saw in yesterday's game, like switching Tatum onto Turner and pulling Horford off and putting him on, that he's getting better at these in-game adjustments too. But I feel like learning how to implement the occasional set play when it's necessary is what will take him from being a good in-game adjustment coach to a really good I don't like using the word great after 2 years. So just a really good in-game adjustment coach. I think that can make a lot of difference.
Do you think the flow type of offense, the flow chart type of offense, is based off of maybe just being being inexperienced of a head coach and trusting the players to work with this type of style of offense? Because like I want to see Missoula be a great NBA head coach, and part of being that is making the end game adjustments. I don't care what sport you play.
I think it's just more modern basketball. Like a lot of teams run this principle offense. So when Monty Williams was at Phoenix, he introduced a principle based offense, and the Suns went to the conference finals, if I remember correctly. I think for me, you implement that type of strategy, that type of game plan when you have so much talent around you that you don't really.
That's what I was going to ask about.
Yeah, you don't really need to design players for them because their processing speed is great. The way they see everything on the floor and make snap decisions, the talent's there. That you kind of you still work on these plays, you still work through these sets, but you just give them the freedom to flow into them within the flow of the structure that you've created, right? I think when you've got a younger team like a Pistons or a Hornets, I think it makes more sense to be more defined in your movements because they need to learn. You can't start playing a flow-based offense until you understand why you flow into these and what situations. So I think everything has its place, but where the Celtics are in their lifespan, you stay with this flowchart style offense.
I like that, man. Very spot on, brother. Very spot on. Cody in the building. What's going on, baby?
I say this at this point, I don't care how it looked. I only care about the win. 7 more. Let's go.
7 more, y'all.
7 more.
7 more. We got the chip. We hang at 18. And I agree with Cody. You know what it is though for me, Cody? And this is not even about expectation. I just felt like there was no point in this game where I felt like Boston should have been struggling against a team that can score the way Indiana, because the Celtics they're just too good. And I felt like what am I trying to say? I felt like they didn't play. I'm not saying they played down to the competition because Indiana is a good team. This might be the best team we've been playing in the playoffs regardless. But at the end of the day, I just feel like the Celtics, they change up and the change up doesn't work. It's like pitching, right? And they do a different pitch and it doesn't work, but then they stick with the same pitch because they want to force it to work. And it's like, no. Change back to the fastball. Change back to this. They're over the breaking ball. They're waiting for it to hang. And I just feel like the Celtics put themselves in weird predicaments. And it's just like they didn't have to do that because they literally had this team by the balls and then they let up. And it was just like, what? By taking weird ass dumb shots. That's me. That if I'm mad, I'm like, why that shot? You could have had a better look. You still had time on the shot clock. You could have passed the ball 3 more times. So I agree with Cody. Win however you gotta win. Ugly, good, whatever. But the Celtics, they got to work smarter, not harder, baby. Like, come on, man. I'm not saying Indiana's a cakewalk.
I'll tell you what shocked me about Indiana, and I will say this, first of all, I'm a big believer in the Dominic Toretto theory from Fast and Furious. Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, winning's winning. So if you win, you win. It goes in 5-10 years' time when we look back at this run, we'll be like it was an overtime win. And that'll be the end of it because you'll just be looking at the box score. There was a win, there's a tick, done. So what I will say now, though, is one thing that impressed me about Indiana that kind of, and I'm not a hockey guy, right? We don't really get hockey out where I'm at. It's not there. Like I see a few things on socials now and again, but I'm very familiar with the power play concept, right?
Understood.
And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Indiana played power play offense. That when they were in the paint and they were attacking the paint, there was three guys there. There'd be one guy at the nail, one guy in the dunker, one guy in that like mid post, and they'd pass and move and cut within that little context of power play until they created a mismatch or they created a gap, and then boom. And that pressure then kind of bleeds into the way you approach the offense because hey, they've just power played us, they've scored on us, now they're full court pressing us. And that takes you out of rhythm. And that was something I was expecting to see more of from Boston, was like that 2-1-2 press that we've seen. Now, the Celtics did throw out some zone. They played 6
I was
possessions
going
of
to say
zone, and they done well.
yeah.
But I felt like Indiana with a team playing the pressure-based basketball, like the full court press, the power play, when the Celtics should have been the ones putting that pressure on because you're the favorites to win this series. You're playing a team that's young and likes to run. You need to grind them down. And it just felt like the Celtics were allowing themselves to be pressured. And sometimes, for me, that's where their bigger issue is. It's not that they play down to competition. It's not that they have these stagnant moments. And they do both of those things from time to time. Not very often. I mean, they only lost 18 games this year. They've lost 20 all season, including the postseason. But from time to time, they allow themselves to get pressured. And I'm like, you guys are too good, too big, and too talented not to be the tone setters in those instances. When the team's pressuring you, pressure back until you basically win because you're the better guys, you're better, more talented, bigger, more experienced. Indiana haven't been this far as this roster. This Pacers roster hasn't been to the conference finals before. They're inexperienced at this point of the postseason, and you saw it in that final minute or 30 seconds in the end of the fourth. That's what led to the overtime in the first place, an inexperienced decision. Partly on Rick Carlisle, he took the blame for that, but I feel like he's just protecting his players at that point. You know what I'm saying? But you know, you need to put the pressure on the inexperienced guys and make them have to try and make decisions under a large amount of pressure and see whether they can thrive or not. And my betting is over a 7-game series, they're going to mess up more than they're not because they're still learning, they're still young.
And they still turn the ball over more than the Celtics, right? And so, like, at the end of the day, I think
play fast, turn it over.
They play, yeah. And at the end of the day, for me, when it comes to our team, it's about intensity and pressure. And I feel like the Celtics need to get back to being dominant and controlling the game. And, you know, stick on that. Foot on the gas, hand around the throat, whatever you call it. It's the playoffs. It's just win or go home. And there's no, you know, even though it's a series and it's best of 7, it doesn't have to be. You can win 4.
Get some rest.
Like that would be my mentality. Hey, I want Porzingis to play. Well, let's win all 4 games. Let's get the 4 at sweep, whatever. Let's do it. And then we can rest, and then we can have time to really heal, really rest. And I do want to point that out. The Celtics were coming off of rest, so they probably were getting back into it, but it didn't seem like that because they started the game off with like a 12-0 lead. Like they started the game off really hot, and it was just great ball movement. They were playing good defense, good pressure up defense on the perimeter. They were shooting bad shots, and then it was just after a timeout. I don't know what's said in the timeouts. I don't get that audio. But Carlisle decided, got his team a bucket. They got to the basket. They attacked, right? They attacked. They knew they weren't shooting well, and that's when the Celtics kind of changed up a little bit, like how they were going to play. But you're right, man. That pressure is what we need from the Celtics to apply. I understand that they may be under tons of pressure, like they have to win it, they have to do this. No, you just take one game at a time. You go out there, you game plan, you make the proper adjustments. Game 2 is on its way. It's going to be electric. I wouldn't be surprised if all these games, every game they played this year was over 100, like 100, almost 120 points per game from each team. It's going to be that. That's what it's going to be. So just be ready. I don't know what the score will be, but it's going to be high.
I just want to say this before we close this out. Celtics Digest, while up, everyone, if you first of all, if you're watching this, please go and subscribe to the Celtics Chronicle. There's a few hundred people watching between Instagram, Twitter, and wherever else. Just click that subscribe button. It's free. While you're there, also search Celtics Digest. He's out here doing his thing. Always hits the trending news quicker than most. So make sure you go show him some love. Super cool guy. One of my favorite channels to go and watch myself. So definitely go and check it out. With that, I feel like we've covered everything. I'm going to end it on this, and I will say this because I've got food waiting for me, and I want to eat.
I feel you.
So what I will say is, I don't expect to see much of Luke Cornett once Xavier Tillman returns. Tillman was out with personal reasons. I think everyone knows what those personal reasons are, and out of respect, I've tried. I don't want to mention that because that's personal reasons. It's listed as that for a very specific reason. It's fucking personal. So if he comes back, once he's back and he's ready and he feels in a position to play,
there's your intensity too.
Yeah, I'd expect him to take over from Cornette just because he's more switchable. He can shuttle a little bit. What I mean by shuttle is he can play and drop and still close out on the perimeter quicker. He gives you a little bit more mobility on offense and, like you said, intensity, physicality. With that, everyone go show Wayne some love as well. Wayne covers the 49ers, but he also does some stuff for Bleach Report and the Celtics, some live streams and stuff. Wayne's my boy. He's going to be back here multiple times. Always
Appreciate
loving it
you.
when he's up on here. Everybody, I appreciate y'all. Wayne, you got anything you want to say before we close this out?
Yeah, man, great show, great stream, great crowd, great community you're building over here, man. Listen, you can follow me at the Wayne Breezy on every social media. I'm definitely gonna check out Celtics Digest and give that a follow. I love being able to be up on the Celtics quickly so I can talk about it live, right? And so we appreciate all the hard work you do over there. And man, listen, man, get ready. Game 2 is gonna be a thriller in Manila, baby, right in Boston, man. They taking game 2. I'm telling you right now, they taking game 2. They're done losing game 2s. I can feel it. It's in the
air. Better be. Because the Pacers are good at home. Like, this isn't a team that sucks at home. They're good at home.
But the Celtics went on the road too. So however you want to look at it, they just need to win game 2. Only game that matters, game 2, baby.
With that, everyone, there's loads of people watching live. Prove to me this isn't a Twitter scam and that you watching are actually real people and not bots. So go and click subscribe so I can see that there's a correlation. Other than that, I hope everyone has a great day. We'll be back again after game 2, which will be a win. I'm putting it out there into the universe right now. Everyone, peace. Thank you very much. Have a good one.